Now, if you watched the channel at all recently, you would know I have been heavily into my PS Vita collecting over the past few months. And I know a lot of you that are watching right now have come here because of the PS Vita and handheld content. Now, I originally went through my PS Vita collection about 4 months ago, I think it was, in an earlier episode. And at the time I had maybe between 20 and 30 PS Vita games I really enjoyed and was really proud to have in the collection. But I just felt like I wanted to have so many more amazing PS Vita titles in the Chronik Spartan collection. So from that point onwards, I went on a mission to collect as many of the PlayStation Vita games I really wanted in a short period of time. And we went through around about 40 or 50 pickups in a series of episodes covering 10 games each. In the last of those episodes, which went out a few weeks ago, I did say that I'd kind of come to the point where I'd collected all the games I'd set out to collect. Since then, I've only purchased one PlayStation Vita game, and it is this right here, Rayman Origins. Now, there are still a handful of PlayStation Vita games I would like to add into the collection, and some new ones that are coming out that I see on the horizon that I think I would like to get my hands on. But as the PS Vita collecting has slowed down over the past month or so, and I set my target on other platforms, I thought now would be a perfect time to look at the new and improved Chronik Spartan PS Vita collection. If you love everything in the world of gaming, from retro to modern, and have a particular soft spot for handheld gaming, then you are in the right place, because here on the Chronik Spartan show, we love everything about the world of gaming, especially portable and handheld gaming as well. If that sounds like your kind of thing, then hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on future awesome content. Now, in the original PlayStation Vita collection video that I did, I'd realized after I'd put it out that there was an important part of the collection I'd failed to talk about and show you guys. And that was my actual PS Vita. Now, I managed to get my PS Vita back in the days when sales for the Vita were at their lowest and places were starting to get rid of them really cheap. And I managed to get my hands on a copy of the PS Vita Mega Pack. I actually got this through the Italian Amazon website because they were half price. And I managed to get two and sell the other one later on at another date, essentially getting the PlayStation Vita for free. Now, I don't normally do things like that, and I try and let other people get those good deals as well. But considering I just had my first child and my wife was no way gonna let me buy a brand new console, that was the only way I could get a PlayStation Vita in the collection, and I knew I had to do it. Now, the awesome thing about the PlayStation Vita Mega Pack is that it came with an 8GB memory card, and it also came with a bunch of games which you can see on the back of the box here. And those games are Little Big Planet, Wipeout 2048, Motorstorm, Little Deviants, Frobisher Says, Equilibrium, Ratchet and Clank, Lemons, Hungry Giraffe, and HD Rotating Octopus Character. Now, some of those games are awesome games, and some of them are pretty average. But what you will notice is that a couple of them I've got in the physical collection because they were just so awesome. Now, the PS Vita itself is right here in this little case, and I got this case pretty much as soon as I got the PS Vita. And it's a nice, pretty slimline, average case with the PS Vita writing on the front there. It's really good because it's quite tough, and it does perfectly for the job that I want it to do. It doesn't add extra bulk or unnecessary extra bulk to the PS Vita when I want to carry it with me but still protect it. And inside there, it's got a couple of nice little sections and areas to hold maybe some games. I've got my charge cable there, I've got an extra memory card, and then we have the PS Vita nicely snug away there, with plenty of fingerprints on it now that I've just taken it out. And there we go, I have the updated version of the PS Vita, the model PCH 2016. And I absolutely love this thing. I love the feel of it in your hands. It just feels so snug and nice, and I love the screen as well. Now, I haven't owned an original PS Vita to compare, and that is something I would definitely love to add to the collection. Another item I'd love to add to the collection as well is the gorgeous lime green and white console that you can get from the Japanese markets. They go on average for about £130 now, and that is potentially going to be the next thing I buy for this PS Vita collection. But as we have it right now, we have a standard black updated model of the PS Vita. Something else I always have with me and carry around everywhere are these little cases. Now, I've got two of them actually. I only originally had one. One of them for some reason came free with a purchase from CX. I think it was an accident, but I'm not going to complain. And these are fantastic, PS Vita branded, nice tough cases, and you can carry 8 games in here and 2 memory cards. And this is brilliant because at any point in time I'm always wanting to swap the games I play. If you're a purely digital player, that's fine, but if you like physical like me, and I'm sure most of you do too, then it's essential to be able to have an easy way to carry your physical carts around without a lot of bulk, and these things are absolutely perfect. I can't recommend them enough. But now let's get on to the most important part of this collection, the games. Now, anybody who checks out my Instagram or sees any of the little video reels that I put out every so often, you'll notice I don't alphabetize my games. I know, it's a sin. How can I do it? But I used to alphabetize them, and then as I get them out and put them back in, they kind of just fell out of order. And to be honest, it adds a bit of excitement when I'm trying to find a game. Have I actually got it or not? But anyway, I will not be going through these in any particular order other than the order in which I get them off this stack over here. The only thing I will do is I will save limited editions for the end. Now, first off, as we said, we've got Rayman Origins, the recent most newest game in the collection. A game I've heard great things about and wanted to get my hands on for a while. I remember hearing Games of War talking about how this was a fantastic version of the game. This has literally been in the collection about 2 days, and because I'm playing through Axiom Verge right now, and next I'll be playing on Metal, I haven't gotten around to playing this yet, but it's something I really can't wait to get my hands into. As well as Rayman Origins, there is also another Rayman game on the PS Vita, and I do want to add that into the collection as well at some point in the future, when I find it for a good price. Next up, we've got a sealed copy of Read Only Memories, 2064 Read Only Memories. A game, again, I've wanted for the longest of time. I remember when I first saw this, I always wanted to play it on the PlayStation Vita. Inspired by Snatcher, me being such a massive fan of Hideo Kojima, that is something that's instantly going to grab my attention. And I'm so happy to have a gorgeous, pristine, sealed copy of 2064 Read-Only Memories for the PS Vita. Next up, and this one was a pricey one, Danganronpa V3. You might have seen me pick this up in one of the previous episodes, and I discussed about whether I would sell it because it was so expensive, and the series is now coming out on the Switch. Well, as you can see, I've not sold it, and I don't think I'm going to sell it. The Danganronpa visual novel series is such a unique series, and one that I think really holds its heart in the PS Vita. I think this is definitely, if I had to own this only on one console, it would be the PS Vita, and that's why I'm keeping a hold of this. Next up, we've got Corpse Party Blood Drive. What on the back looks like not too scary a game, from what I've heard, is a pretty terrifying game to play. And this might actually be my game of choice this Halloween. I love to play scary games around Halloween, and the easiest way for me to play them and get through them in that short window of the Halloween time frame, October let's say, is to play them in handheld form. Most games I start around Halloween time on home console and never get to finish before that Halloween vibe's over. So I have been thinking about what I'm going to play, and I think it might be this. Next up, and again one of the newer additions to the collection, is Freedom Wars. This is kind of, from what I've heard, the replacement for Monster Hunter that the PS Vita never had, and a game I've heard so many amazing things about. This one I think is going to be more of a time sink, and I'm going to have to dedicate a lot more time into this. I've not gotten around to playing this one yet, but it's one I love to have in the collection. Next up in the collection, we have X-Blaze Code Embryo, the visual novel to go with the fighting game series. Again, this one is sealed, and there are a few sealed games in this collection. I'm not the type of gamer who keeps their games sealed, but I'm not going to open it until I get around to playing it. So it's really nice to have a few PS Vita games sealed in this collection. And when it comes to visual novels, I'm always intrigued, especially if the subject matter is one that appeals to me, or it's kind of a spin-off of a franchise that I'm already aware of. And X-Blaze Code Embryo looks like an awesome visual novel. Next up, and we're jumping through the numbers here, we've got Danganronpa Trigger Happy TV. Like we said about Danganronpa V3, these games are perfect on the PS Vita, and it's so nice to have this in the collection. I do have the Danganronpa series on the PlayStation 4, and I have pre-ordered it for the Nintendo Switch, but I'm definitely going to be keeping it for the PlayStation Vita. Next up, and the game that potentially started this whole binge, is Sly Cooper Thieves in Time. The original trilogy of Sly Cooper games were one of the first games I played on my PlayStation Vita, and I absolutely fell in love with this series. Now I'm aware it is a PlayStation 2 franchise, but I have only ever played it on the PlayStation Vita, and that's why for me, Sly Cooper games just feel perfect on the PS Vita. An absolutely wonderful 3D platformer with those stealth aspects in that you know I love. Strangely enough as well, this was one of the hardest games to add into the collection, when it shouldn't have really been. It's not that difficult to find, but when I first wanted to get it, it was around about the £20 mark, and the price drastically increased over a short period of time, and I didn't want to pay double the price when I didn't think that I needed to. So I held off for a bit, and I finally got this at a great deal, and I'm so happy to have it added into the collection. Next up, we jump back into the middle, and we've got Danganronpa 2. Like we just said about Danganronpa V3 and Trigger Happy as well, the visual novel series Danganronpa is perfect on the PS Vita, and although at one point I may have thought about potentially selling these games, they are not going anywhere. They are staying here in the Chronik Spartan collection for sure. Now next up, we've got Epic Mickey 2, The Power of 2. Now this is kind of funny because this is one of the first games I read about being rare. Now I don't think it's rare in Europe. In fact, I'm pretty certain it's not. I think it's rare in South American territories. But it was a game that piqued my interest because I loved the original Epic Mickey on the Nintendo Wii. And to see how this would play, to see how this would feel in the palm of your hand on the PS Vita without the gimmicky controls of the Wii, I was instantly sold and had to get this in the collection. Next up, we have an absolutely essential title, and that is Little Big Planet PlayStation Vita. Funnily enough, I didn't have this in the collection for the longest period of time, and it was a game I always kind of assumed I had in the collection. Like, why wouldn't I? It's so cheap, it's so easy to find. Surely I had it in the collection, but it always kind of passed me by, and eventually I righted that wrong, and we got Little Big Planet PlayStation Vita in the collection. Now recently I did have the option to buy the Marvel Heroes edition, and I decided to not go for it because as far as I could tell, it was just extra skins for the character. And I'm not too bothered about the skins, I'm more bothered about the creativity and the gameplay of Little Big Planet. But let me know if I'm wrong. Should I go back and get that Marvel version, or should I just stick with Little Big Planet PlayStation Vita, the original? Either way, awesome game for the collection, and one everybody should have in theirs. And here it pops up again, Danganronpa, this time Ultra Despair Girls. This is kind of like the spin-off version of the game, and as far as I know, I don't think this one is being ported to the Nintendo Switch. So this remains an essential title to have on the PlayStation Vita, and this is the thing that really interests me about PlayStation Vita titles, and I think I'll do an episode on it in the future. Which titles are the only ones you can get on the PlayStation Vita, or are the only ones you can get in physical form on the PlayStation Vita? Now I might be wrong, this might be available on other platforms, but I'm pretty certain it's not coming to the Switch. But like I said, either way, it brings about that question, and it's something I'd really like to delve into and do an episode on in the future, so keep an eye out for that one. Now next up, we have a game that is part of a trilogy, but it's not a trilogy on the PS Vita itself. It's a trilogy on the PS3 and the PS Vita. Now it does kind of frustrate me when series of games don't stay on the platform that they're on, but still, I'm a kind of a completionist, and I do want to have complete collections and complete sub-collections as well. So when I first started reading about the Italia Shally series, it was on the PS3, and it was a series of games I wanted to get. So when I found out there was a PS Vita version, I had to get my hands on it as well, and we've got that in the collection, and it sounds like an awesome RPG. But then again, RPGs are games that take a lot of time, so this is going to be a game that I'll probably get around to later on, because there's already a bunch of RPGs I've already got on my list that I need to tick through, and you're going to see some of them popping up in a minute. Next up is another absolutely essential title, and that is Killzone Mercenary, a game that I should have had sooner in the collection, a game that isn't difficult to find and not that expensive, and a game that a lot of people might say was the first great first-person shooter for portable consoles. This game is absolutely stunning, and it really pushed the boundaries of what portable gaming was when it first came out for the PS Vita. If you have a PS Vita and you don't have this game, you need to get it in the collection. It's absolutely stunning. Next up, and I'm not going to do what I did with Danganronpa and just randomly pick them out throughout, I've actually put these two together now, is the Muv-Luv series. We've got Muv-Luv and Muv-Luv Alternative. Now the Muv-Luv games are a series I've only just found out about, and I found out about them as I was researching some awesome games to check out for the PS Vita, specifically in the visual novel genre. I love visual novels. They take me back to the point-and-click adventure games that I used to love as a kid, and the PlayStation Vita is a visual novel powerhouse. And the thing I love about it is finding these unique and interesting games, at least unique and interesting to me. Muv-Luv might be a very well-known series, but to me it was new, and it was really difficult to find. As a matter of fact, I had to get this version of Muv-Luv straight from the US because I just couldn't find a decent copy of it in the UK anywhere. And it's a very interesting looking visual novel series with sci-fi elements in there that I absolutely love, so I cannot wait to get around to playing these. Next up, we have the very funny and unique Archivist Strip. Now, this is an interesting game because the premise of this game is that you're trying to take out vampires, but you're trying to take out vampires by ripping their clothes off and exposing them to the sun. Essentially a sneaky little way to get some fanfare in there. But the thing I love about this game, and the thing I find really interesting, is that you can explore an absolutely wonderful recreation of Akihabara from Japan, a place that is just steeped in nerd culture and gaming, and a place I would love to visit in real life, but up until now I'll just have to do with the virtual version. Next up, we have Volume, a game I've wanted to get in the collection for ages, because this is inspired by the special missions, the VR special missions in Metal Gear Solid. Anyone who knows me knows I am mad about Metal Gear Solid. It's my favorite video game of all time, so I had to have this in the collection as well. Now this is still sealed from limited run, but as I showed in a previous episode, it's got some weird ripple effect on the box here. I will replace this box when I eventually open it, but it's still sealed and I haven't opened it yet. Next up, we have another sealed game, and actually this is a part of two. Let's get the other one as well. And they are both sealed. Didn't realize they were both sealed. And we have Retro City Rampage and Shakedown Hawaii. Two phenomenal games, absolutely amazing. These are sealed, but I have played them on the Nintendo Switch, and they are just a wonderful modern recreation of that top-down GTA original format. These are truly retro-inspired games and done in the right way. They play wonderful on modern consoles, and they're perfect to play in the palm of your hand. Two absolutely amazing games, and two games I've got maybe too many copies of. I've got sealed copies on the PS Vita, I've got sealed copies on the Nintendo Wii as well, because they did a limited run for those, and they're in some nice boxes. As a matter of fact, I'll quickly show you them. There we go, in some nice acrylic cases, and games I also have in digital format on multiple devices. These games are awesome, and I just can't have enough copies of them. Next up, another sealed game, and that is Tokyo Twilight Hunters. Now, this is one I found really cheap sealed, and it goes for pretty cheap as well. I was on the fence about getting this because reviews are not great, but the things I heard about it intrigued me. It's a visual novel, and people refer to it having some similarities to Ghostbusters. I love Ghostbusters, and even if those similarities are really tiny, I think I'll probably still love it anyway. So a game, again, I've not gotten into, not tried yet, but really glad to have in the collection, sealed, and it was really cheap as well. Next up, we've got a fighting game, and that is Marvel vs. Capcom 3, the Ultimate Edition. Marvel vs. Capcom is just such an amazing series of games. I love all the iterations of these games from the retro generations all the way up to the PlayStation 3 one as well. So when I found out there was a version on the PlayStation Vita, I had to get my hands on it as well. I am a massive geek. I'm a huge comic book collector, and I love the world of Marvel. So to cross Marvel with video games is just absolute perfection to me, and a fantastic fighting game to have in the palm of your hand. Next up, we have the awesome Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate. Now, a unique twist on the Arkham games. This works perfectly in the palm of your hand, and to be honest, I don't think I would have liked it if they tried to recreate what the Arkham games were on home consoles on the PS Vita. The fact that this is a unique portable handheld gaming experience is brilliant. That's something that I feel with the introduction of the Nintendo Switch we've kind of lost a little bit. These little spin-offs, these games that are designed for portable and handheld gaming, games you would only get on handheld devices. With the Switch being such an awesome console that transitions handheld and home gaming absolutely seamlessly, I feel like that little subgenre, that middle area of gaming is kind of disappearing now, and it's something I'd love to see come back. And this is one of the last great handheld specific games, if you like, and a game I'm so happy to have in the collection. Now, another duo of games, and let me put these two together. I'm inadvertently actually organising my games by doing this as well. And that is Disgaea 3 and Disgaea 4. Now, I haven't played these games before. Tactical RPGs are games I've not really delved into that much, but have really intrigued me and I've wanted to get into. And I've heard that Disgaea is one of the best in the business. Now, when I did my research, I realised I wanted to get a copy of Disgaea 4, and I accidentally got a copy of Disgaea 3. So then I went out and got a copy of Disgaea 4 as well. So I've got both of these in the collection. I don't know if I need both of them. I don't know if I'll play both of them. I think what I will do is I'll play 3 first, and if I enjoy it, I'll then move on to 4. But from everything I've heard and from people I've spoken to, these are fantastic games and different enough to warrant owning both of them. So an amazing experience that I'm really looking forward to enjoying on the PlayStation Vita. And this is the thing I love about the PlayStation Vita collection that I have. There's so many games in it that I haven't played yet, games I will play, and I can just pick any one of them out, stick them in the PS Vita, and start playing straight away. Like I said, I'm playing Axiom Verge right now, and that's a game I've had for 2 years. And the only reason I haven't got around to playing it is just not finding the time, playing some other consoles, playing the PlayStation 5 when it first came out. And now I'm finally getting around to playing Axiom Verge. It is absolutely phenomenal, and it's so nice to be able to still have these brand new gaming experiences for a console that's over a decade old. But we are not done, and the next game in the collection is the Jak and Daxter trilogy. And this is one of the series of trilogies and collections on the PlayStation Vita that I absolutely love that Sony decided to do and add to the library of the PlayStation Vita. The Jak and Daxter games are absolutely superb, and I do have them on the PlayStation 2 in their original form. But there's something just nicer, something easier, and something more enjoyable about being able to play these in the palm of my hand, jump into them, have some fun, and experience the games in a way that I hadn't done before. I played Jak and Daxter 1, I played Jak 2, I never played Jak 3. And these collections, these trilogies, are a fantastic way to complete those experiences for me. Talking about collections, we also have the God of War collection as well. Now, this consists of God of War 1 and God of War 2. And although the God of War series has evolved into the amazing game that it is now on modern consoles, my heart remains in the original series, because it's a game all about Greek history and culture. And for me, there's nothing cooler than the way that God of War depicts those ancient stories, those ancient myths of Greek culture. An absolutely fantastic series of games and an essential for my PlayStation Vita collection. Carrying on with the collections, we of course have the Metal Gear Solid HD collection. And this includes Metal Gear Solid 2 and Metal Gear Solid 3. Now, Metal Gear Solid 1 is my absolute favorite video game of all time. But Metal Gear Solid 2 and Metal Gear Solid 3 are so close because they are such perfect, stunning, amazing video games. For a lot of people, Metal Gear Solid 3 is the best in the series, and I understand why people say that, but my heart is with Metal Gear Solid 1. But that doesn't mean that I don't love to play through these games as well. And with the Metal Gear Solid games being games I've played over and over and over the past decades of gaming, it was so nice to jump in and have a new experience with them, to play them in the palm of my hand. I remember for years wishing and hoping there was a way that I could play Metal Gear Solid on the go, that I could take it with me, take it up into the bedroom while I'm chilling, going to sleep and just relaxing. And when the PSP came along and enabled that for Metal Gear Solid, and then the PS Vita came along and enabled it for Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, my dreams came true. And this sits not only proudly in my PlayStation Vita collection, but also in my Metal Gear Solid collection as well. Another superb trilogy as well is the Ratchet and Clank trilogy. Now, Ratchet and Clank has just had a resurgence of life with the amazing PlayStation 5 game. And prior to that, the PlayStation 4 reboot was absolutely stunning. And it's been so nice to be able to introduce my wife and my son to those games. And it's so cool that after playing those games, I can then show them the originals. I handed this cart in the PS Vita and handed it to my wife, and she absolutely fell in love with it. And this is what is absolutely brilliant. If I loaded this up on the PS2 in the retro corner behind me and gave her the controller to sit and play, she probably wouldn't spend much time with it. Having kids in the house is just too difficult to spend time in this little corner and soak away hours on these amazing games. But to put it in a PS Vita and give it to her and she could just switch it on and play whenever she wanted, it was perfect. And that is why these collections, these trilogies are so amazing, because they bring retro games, these classic games, to a newer generation. And another essential collection for the PS Vita collection. Now back to the sealed games, and we have Phineas and Ferb. Now this one is Il Giorno del Dottore Doofenshmirtz, and I think it translates to the Day of Doofenshmirtz. Anyway, I love Phineas and Ferb. A great series, I've always enjoyed it, and my son has recently started watching it as well. So this was a game, as soon as I found out it existed, I just wanted to get it. It's a 3D action platformer, and these are kind of guilty pleasures for me. I love these kind of colourful, wonderful, nice, happy, chilled out, relaxed, entertaining worlds in video games. And these are the games I pick up and play when I just want to sit back, relax if I've had a stressful day or a tough time, and just get back to that happy place, that chilled out, almost like zone I would get into when I was a teenager playing video games, where nothing else in the world mattered and everything was okay. Now, as you can see, this is still sealed. I've not played it yet. And I'm actually waiting to open this with my son so we can experience it and play it together. Like I said, he's recently gotten into Phineas and Ferb. He's watching all the TV shows, he's watching the movies, and I'm waiting for the time when he asks me, because he always does whenever he gets into something, "Hey Dad, have you got a video game about such and such?" And with his collection, I can almost always turn around and say, yes, I have. And I'm waiting for that moment when he says to me, "Hey Dad, have you got a video game about Phineas and Ferb?" And I'll say, "Yes, I do, son. Let's crack it open." Now, we're not even halfway through, and we've got loads more, so let's try and speed it up a little bit. Next up, we have Lumines. Awesome puzzle game. I've got this on the PSP and I've got it on the PS Vita. A fantastic puzzle game that kind of combines a lot of classic puzzle games like Tetris and Columns, but adds into it the wonderful use of music as well. Music plays a strong part in this game, and this is such a cool and awesome puzzle game to waste away hours and hours to. Next up, we have Borderlands 2. Now this gets a lot of flack, but I think this is absolutely amazing. I love this game, and it's one of the earliest games I got on the PS Vita. I got this before Killzone Mercenary, and I was blown away that the PS Vita could handle this. This just soaked away so many hours of my time. I spent so much time exploring this world, the wonderful cel-shaded graphics. For every issue that people say this game has, they're comparing it to the home console version at the time. And for what the PS Vita was doing, I think this is absolutely stunning. And I think this is an essential game for the PlayStation Vita collection. Next up, we have Tales of Hearts R. Now, I have realized I've not opened a lot of these cases, and the reason being is that because we all know most of these games don't come with manuals, it's just the cart, but this is one that does. And as far as I know, when speaking to Radical Reggie, I think the booklet in this is a European exclusive. I think it's a PAL exclusive, but we have the book in there as well, Tales of Hearts R. Now, I know if you're watching this, Reggie, you're going to be like, Stav, I need that. And if I can find one, mate, I will get you it and I'll send you it over. Because as far as I remember, it wasn't too expensive to get this. But we have a complete Tales of Hearts R. Now, I've not played this game yet, but it is one I've heard so much about, and one of the earlier RPGs I got in the collection. Now, next up we have Valkyrie Drive Bikuni, a very PS Vita kind of game. This kind of mixes fanfare with Dynasty Warriors, but the best thing about it is the gameplay is stunning. It is so exciting and exhilarating, so much action going on, such a fun game to pick up and play anytime, and a great game to add into your collection. Moving on to another fighting game, and we have the awesome Mortal Kombat. This was the game that when I was looking for this made me realize how difficult it was to buy PS Vita games. I got this about 2 years ago, and at the time I decided to get this, I'd watched a recent Telesplash Gaming episode about Mortal Kombat games, and I thought I want to get Mortal Kombat on the PS Vita. I thought I'll go out and get it. Went to my local CEX, they didn't have hardly any Vita games. Looked online, there was hardly any in stock. When I went to Max Gaming Expo, I thought surely I'll find a copy there. Not only did I not find a copy, no one was selling PS Vita games. And it was at that point I realised PS Vita games are really hard to come by. And that was where the seed really first started, about wanting to grow this collection before it was too late. Either way, I got a copy of Mortal Kombat and it is awesome, a great fighting game on the PS Vita. Next up we have Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed, an awesome racing game that I got off the back of a recommendation off a Metal Jesus video. Anyone who watches Metal Jesus knows he loves his racing games, and when he was talking about his favourite PS Vita racing games, this popped up and sounded amazing, and it is such an awesome game. There's something about kart racing that just works really well in portable gaming, and this is one of the few modern Sonic spin-off games that actually really works well. And a game that's just so much fun to play. Next up we have another kind of fanfare mixed with Dynasty Warriors kind of game, and that is Senran Kagura Estable Versus. Now these Senran Kagura games can get really pricey, and I managed to get this one quite cheap at the time. This I got about 2 or 3 years ago, and I think it was around about £15. Now these games have gone up in price quite a lot, but again, a fantastic and exhilarating game. Anyone who knows what Dynasty Warrior games are like, it's loads of people on screen at once, loads of action, trying to take out hordes, and it's just absolutely awesome fun and really good for portable gaming. Next up we have Tesla Grad. Now this is a funny one because when I got this I knew nothing about it. I was on a PlayStation Vita page on Facebook and somebody said about how this game was so difficult to find, so expensive, and it was going really cheap on CEX. So I just decided to grab a copy of it. I've not played it since. The more I've looked into it, it actually looks really good. It's like a retro 2D platformer. It looks really unique and interesting. But like I said, I kind of just bought this for the sake at the time. I wasn't even sure if I should, but I'm really glad I did, because these are the types of games that are kind of difficult to find, tricky to find. And when you do find them, I always think it's worth getting them at a decent price. Because at the time when I got it, I wasn't that sure about it. But as time's gone on and I found out more about it, I'm so happy to have it in the collection, and it's a perfect game to just pick up and play and enjoy in portable gaming. Next up, we have another essential PS Vita title, and this is Tearaway, the franchise that was created on the PS Vita. Now, yeah, this got ported onto the PlayStation 4, but for me, this is the game that was made for the PlayStation Vita because it showcased all the capabilities of it, all the gyroscopic controls, the touchscreen, and even the funky touchpad on the back. The only thing I can't stand about the console, other than the memory cards, is that touchpad, but this game uses it properly. Now, this is from the creators of Little Big Planet, and as far as I know, I think this is the game the original creators of Little Big Planet went on to make, whereas the Little Big Planet on the PlayStation Vita was made by a sub-team. Either way, this oozes quality and it's a fantastic game. Even if you have it on your PS4, it's worth getting on the PS Vita because, like I said, this game was made for the console. Next up, we have Final Fantasy X Mx2. Now, I got this second-hand, and unfortunately, it doesn't have the code for X2 in. It's only got X. So I've got the case, but I've only got Final Fantasy X. But still, Final Fantasy, a fantastic series of games, and for a lot of people, I think 10 was the last great one. At the time that this came out for the PS Vita, I couldn't believe it was on the PS Vita. My mind was blown, I had to get a copy of it. And as far as X2 goes, I'll just purchase that on the digital store anyway, because it was digital anyway, so it's not like I'm missing any physical aspects of the game. Now the next two games absolutely ooze quality on this system, and the first one we're going to be looking at is Persona 4 Golden. When I first got my PlayStation Vita, this was the game that came up time and time again of the one game that you have to own if you have a PS Vita. I didn't really know much about it at the time. I didn't know that much about the Persona series. I've learned so much more about it recently through other retro gamers, through YouTube channels, etc. But with everything that was said about this game, I couldn't not get it. And this really reminded me at the time of my original experience. I don't mean playing this, but the aspect of getting it. My original experience with Metal Gear Solid. When I first heard about Metal Gear Solid, when somebody first gave me the game, I knew nothing about it. I didn't know what to expect at all, but all I'd heard was how amazing it was. You have to play this game, it's so good, etc, etc, etc. And I was a bit dubious at the time, but I decided I'd go into it. And the thing I loved about it was not knowing what I was about to experience. That's what made Metal Gear Solid so amazing for me. The same thing goes for Persona 4 Golden. I've never played a Persona game before. I bought this because I've heard how good it is. And so everything I'm about to experience with this game is going to be brand new to me. And it's going to be a whole new experience from the start, from the ground up. Now, I have not played this yet. I will definitely play this. And this is a game I want to put some serious time and commitment into. So I'm waiting till I have that moment when I can just sit back and put hours and hours and hours into this. Either way, I've heard this is essential, so I guess it is. It's in the collection anyway. Now the next game is Ys 8, Lacrimosa of Dana. And this is another game I'd heard so many amazing things about. I've not played the Ys series before, but I'm aware that it's an action RPG. But I'd heard so many amazing things about this and how this is one of the best games on the PS Vita. Again, I had to get it. This is a game I have started playing and I've absolutely fallen in love with it. The amazing world, the wonderful, awesome fighting mechanics is so natural, so exciting, so exhilarating. This game is a type of game that you just get sucked into the world and you feel like you're a part of it. Like I was saying earlier about the Phineas and Ferb game in terms of a nice, wonderful, colourful world that you just delve into and forget about everything else in the real world. This is one of those games. This is the game I pick up when I've had a tough day and I just want to relax, go off to this wonderful island, do some exploring, kill some bad guys. And this game absolutely ticks all those boxes. Wonderful, wonderful game and a perfect one for your PlayStation Vita collection. Now, because I'm enjoying Ys 8 so much, I knew I had to get this in the collection as well, and that's Ys SOLXCE. Now, I originally wasn't going to get this because RPGs are difficult games for me to get through. I don't often have the time to put into them to get all the way through them to the end. And if there's one thing I hate doing, it's starting a story-based or a strong story-based game and not finishing it. So I wasn't going to get Ys Memories of SOLXCE, but once I started playing Ys 8 and I realized how damn good that game is, I knew I had to get this in the collection as well. So as soon as that's done, we've got this ready to jump into. Now moving on, we're going to check out a Vanillaware title, and it's my first Vanillaware title I ever got, and that's Odin Sphere. Now I love a channel called Games of War. The presenter Josh just has this amazing way of describing video games, that even games that would never be ones I would think about playing, he makes me want to play them because he just sounds so amazing. And when he talked about Odin Sphere, I just knew I had to have this game. I had to experience this game. An absolutely wonderful, gorgeous game with amazing gameplay mechanics. This is such a beautiful game and it works perfectly on the PlayStation Vita. And I'm just so glad I decided to take a chance and try this game out. Let's stick with a theme and another Vanillaware game, and that is Dragon's Crown. Because Odin Sphere was so damn good, I had to get Dragon's Crown as well. Now, I've not played this one, but I trust that this is going to be as exciting and as enjoyable as Odin Sphere. The thing about Vanillaware titles is that they have a very specific style to the graphics, and Dragon's Crown does not disappoint. A game that I'm so excited to finally get my teeth into, and a game I'm so proud to have in the collection as well. Next up, we're going to do these together, and that is the Tad Jones games, or as these are called, Tadeo Jones and Tadeo Jones y el Manuscrito Perdido. Now, Tad Jones is like a Spanish Indiana Jones inspired cartoon, and the films are awesome. I've seen them recently on Netflix. They're really, really good. I enjoyed them. And these are like 2D side-scrolling platformers. Now, the thing that I found really unique about these is that they're really difficult to find. I think they only released in Spain. And so it's been really difficult to get copies of these. Now, if you watch the Pickups episode where I discussed these, you'll realize I made a big mistake. These don't have the original covers on them. They're reprinted covers. And the silly thing is, that was in the description, but I just completely missed it. I was so excited I saw the price of these. I thought I have to get them. I didn't even notice that they were reprinted covers, although it is the original games inside. Now, I was considering sending these back, but in all honesty, I don't think they're going to be the greatest gaming experiences. I've not played them yet. They're just a bit of fun. I just like to have these in the collection. If one day I find the proper covers, or I find a great deal on versions of these with the proper covers, I'll get them and I'll replace them. But as it stands, I'm not too bothered. These are the only games that don't have a proper cover in the collection, and I think I can deal with that. Next up, we have what I will call the awesome Ridge Racer. Now, this game gets a lot of stick, and I got a bit of stick when I described this as being awesome in my Pickups video. And I stand by the fact that this game is awesome. Yes, in terms of content, it may not have everything we could have had in it. It may not be as fully fleshed out as other Ridge Racer games. But there's one thing that this game has that is the most important thing in any racing video game, and that is stunning racing. The racing in this is just absolutely glorious, and it's so exciting and so fun on the PlayStation Vita. I have the other games on the PSP, and I have loads of games on my original PlayStation consoles as well. So I'm not too bothered about the content. If I want the content, I'll go somewhere else. If I just want to pick up my handheld and have some awesome racing action, this is what I'm playing, and it is brilliant. Don't let the haters convince you otherwise. Great game. Now, sticking with racing games, this is another racing game that I absolutely love, and that's F1 2011. Now, this is not the best racing experience, but it's the only F1 racing experience on the PlayStation Vita, and it is potentially the best handheld F1 racing experience. Now, in terms of controls, I do think the cars feel a bit slippy in this, and especially when you compare it to like F1 2021 now, the difference is night and day. But still, to pick this up, to get the feeling of being in an F1 car, to get that experience of an F1 weekend, in the palm of your hand, you can't do any better than this right now. And this satisfies those urges. When I do want to just get that quick pick up and go game, when I do want to have a quick F1 weekend, over a couple of hours in the palm of my hand, this is what I will go to, and it satisfies every time. Until we get an awesome F1 game from the Nintendo Switch or any other handheld console, this is going to be the winner for me. Now, we talked about Sly Cooper before, and we went over a few collections as well, and now we also have the Sly Cooper Collection. Now, like I said, these were some of the first games I actually played on my PlayStation Vita. I played them in digital format though, and after playing them through in digital format, I knew I had to have these games in physical format. Now, this is the US version of this collection, and the game card only contains Sly Cooper 1 and 2. Sly Cooper 3 is in digital format, but I already have that anyway. As far as I know, the European version card comes with Sly Cooper 1, 2 and 3 on the card itself. If I can get a copy of that, I will. But for the time being, I'm so happy to have this. And in all honesty, I actually prefer the cover of this one. I like the white and the gold look. I really like this one. But Sly Cooper is one of my favorite action platformers of all time, and so happy to have that in the collection. Now, we talked about Killzone Mercenary before being one of the best first-person shooter experiences on the PS Vita. And next up, we have Resistance Burning Skies. Now, this doesn't match toe-to-toe with Killzone. This isn't as good a game as Killzone, but this is still an awesome game. This is still a fantastic first-person shooter on the PlayStation Vita. And at the time that this came out, this was brilliant. Like I say, a lot of games, I think, suffer from comparisons. If you compare this to Killzone Mercenary, it doesn't live up to it. But if you look at this as a standalone game, it's just so much fun, and it's an awesome experience in the world, in the world of Resistance. A great series that I wish would come back to PlayStation. It was such a cool series of games on the PS3, and I'm so glad that it had an appearance on the PS Vita as well. Maybe we'll get a reboot one day, I don't know. Next up, we have a game that I was on the fence about getting, but it was so cheap, and it's got an interesting premise, and that's Trilliant God of Destruction. Now, as far as I know about this game, the boss in this has 1 trillion hit points. Now, I don't really know if that really means anything, because if you knock off 1 billion hit points with every hit, then it doesn't really make a difference. But if you only knock off 10 hit points with every hit, then it's a pretty decent undertaking. But either way, this sounded interesting to me. It was quite cheap, and it was one that kept on popping up over and over again as a potential for me to get from a local CEX. So in the end, I decided to get it. I've not played it yet, but it's a unique experience. At least it sounds like one anyway. And it's one that for me, through all my collecting of the Vita, through all my years of collecting the Vita, this keeps on popping up and up. And I thought in the end, let's just do it. I need to get this game. It's been crying out to be bought, so we've got it in the collection anyway. Next up, we have some more fanfare, and that is Galgun Double Peace. Now, this is a shooting game, and I love my light gun games, but I also love my shooting games that don't have to have a light gun as well. What do I mean by that? So the original Hard Trilogy game on the PS1, I played through that using a controller. I actually no, that's a lie. I originally played through that on my PC first using a mouse. So some of my first experience with shooting games weren't with light guns. Yes, they are much better to play with light guns, but even if you don't have a light gun, I still really enjoy those gaming experiences. And this is that. It has a twist on it, as you can see, but it's still a fantastically fun and awesome game to play on the PlayStation Vita. Now, I mentioned before about the Games of War YouTube channel and how Josh has a way of describing games and making them just sound so amazing. And this is another one I picked up because of Josh on that channel, and that is Root Letter. The way he described this game, this just sounded like everything I like in a story, everything I want in a visual novel. I picked this up about a year ago and I still haven't played it yet because I want to find the right time to play it. When there's certain games that I have in my collection that I have a strong feeling I'm really gonna like Axiom Verge for example, I don't want to just pick them up and play at any point in time, because especially now the way I play games, I don't always have the time to put into them that I'd like to. And I think if I play a game in bits here and there, sometimes I'll lose the experience. So the games that I'm pretty certain I'm going to love, I'm really going to enjoy, I want to wait until I've got a good period of time that I can sink into it. That's why it took me 2 years to get around to Axiom Verge, and that's why I haven't played this yet. But it's a game I'm so excited to have in the collection, and I cannot wait to get into playing. Now, we are getting close, crew. We are getting close. We've been here for quite a while. I'd say we've got about a quarter left, and then we're going to go into the limited editions as well. But it's so nice that the collection is this big, and this is what I set out to do. This is what I want my collection to feel like when I first started the whole binge of Vita collecting a few months ago. But anyway, moving on. Next up, we have Wipeout 2048. And the Wipeout series of games for me is pure Sony. And the PSP versions of the Wipeout games were absolutely stunning. I love those games. So to get a PS Vita version was just an absolute dream come true. This game plays and looks amazing on the PS Vita. It is so slick, so fast, and it's just that kind of futuristic racing that works so well in the palm of your hand. I love futuristic races, but some of them can have a little bit too much going on. The recent game Grip, I love that game, but I struggle to play that on the Nintendo Switch in handheld mode. If I play it in home console mode, it's brilliant because I can see the screen a lot better, I can see what's going on. But Wipeout 2048 does it brilliantly, and it works so great in the palm of your hand. Moving on, and another racing game, and we have Spy Hunter. Now, I love the Spy Hunter series of games, and this is great fun, but it's not as good as some of the other Spy Hunter games. The thing about this is the controls, again, like F1 2011, the controls in this are also kind of slippy. I think I'd prefer a more grippier feeling car. That way I think I'd have a feeling of more control throughout the levels, and throughout some of these levels they can be quite challenging. You do need to have that feeling of control, but once you get past the first couple of levels and you start to get used to it, it is still a massively fun game. The excitement of jumping over a massive jump, landing into the water and your car transforming into a boat, then coming out onto the gravel and then turning into a 4x4 and then getting back onto the asphalt and turning into a sports car is brilliant. At the same time, while shooting rockets, dropping fire behind you, it's just great fun. And that's what Spy Hunter games are all about. Yes, it could do with an improvement in the controls, but it's still a massively fun game. Next up, we have Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel. Now, there's a few RPGs that you've seen pop up in this collection, and this is one I haven't gotten around to playing. Like I say, RPGs are difficult for me to find the time to play, and I think of all the RPGs I've got, this might be one of the last ones I come around to playing, because out of all of them, this is the one that maybe appeals to me the least. But I don't know a whole lot about this game. I was just glad to get a copy of it when I did for the price that I did. If this is one of the best, let me know. But as it stands, I think I'm going to be aiming to play Ys first, then Tales of Hearts, and then this. But just so nice to have it in the collection, to have that option to crack this open and play it and have a new game experience. Moving on, we have an Italian case for The Amazing Spider-Man. Now this was actually an expensive game to get, and I didn't really think this was going to be expensive. I managed to get it for a pretty decent price, don't get me wrong, but this was more money than a lot of these other games in here. I haven't played this yet, and this is a game, again, that I'll probably wait to experience with my son. He loves Spider-Man. We played through the latest Miles Morales game on the PS5. He's absolutely smashed the PS4 Spider-Man game and completed it like 5 times now. So pretty certain he's going to be asking for a new Spider-Man experience pretty soon, and I think this will be the one I'll let him play and we'll play it together. But this is one I've just always wanted to add into the collection, but like I said, I was just kind of surprised how expensive it was, to be honest. Talking about expensive games, and we have Silent Hill Book of Memories. Like I said in a previous episode, I got this for about £15, I think. When I looked at the price more recently, it was up to £45, and I think on eBay it even goes for like £90. Crazy. I love the Silent Hill series, and recently I completed my Silent Hill collection. I've got all the games in the series, albeit on different consoles, but to have one of every single game in the Silent Hill series was an aspiration of mine, and I've done that. And this is a very unique game in the world of Silent Hill. It isn't really the 3D exploration game that we know of Silent Hill. It's more like a top-down hack and slash game. But that is just so awesome, because new experiences like that, as I said previously about the Batman Arkham Origins game, new experiences like that are what I love about handheld consoles. Games that are designed to work perfectly in handheld mode. And just like Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate, I think this is one of the last games that has been designed in that kind of way. A game which has been designed purposefully and specifically to be enjoyed and to maximize a handheld gaming console. And it's Silent Hill. It's an absolutely amazing series of games. Fantastic. Next up, we have Gravity Rush. And again, this is a game that is now on the PlayStation 4 as well. But this is a game that I think works perfectly on the PlayStation Vita. Again, designed to make the most of the PlayStation Vita handheld console, and a game that is just so wonderful to play on it. If you do have the PS4 version of Gravity Rush, keep a hold of it, because that game is expensive now. And also, Gravity Rush 2 only came out on the PS4. But either way, this is one of the first games I got on my PlayStation Vita console, and when I started playing this, it was just phenomenal. It was just such an exhilarating brand new experience and a wonderful game that I had to play until I got a platinum, because it was just so good. And one of the first games I think I ever did platinum. These are the kinds of new franchises I want to see more of, and I want to see Sony creating, and that's why I want Sony to create a new handheld, because although they are creating new franchises for the PlayStation 5, I think if they had a handheld console as well, the new franchises they'd create for those consoles would be completely different. Moving on to PS Vita exclusives, and we've got Uncharted Golden Abyss. Now this is one I am certain is an exclusive on the console, and like I said earlier in this episode, I want to do another episode which discusses exclusives on the Vita, games you can only get on the Vita, or games that you can only get physically on the Vita. This is definitely one of them. Uncharted Golden Abyss is such a fantastic, amazing game. I mean, to have an Uncharted game in the palm of your hand when the Vita came out was just mind-blowing, and this is just so good. Some people don't like the gimmicks that this uses on the PlayStation Vita, and I think it's really great that they added those things to this game to make it stand out as a handheld game, to make it different from the Uncharted console games, the Uncharted home console games. A fantastic experience that can only be played on the PlayStation Vita, and not even the PlayStation Vita TV or the PlayStation TV, whatever it's called. If you have a PlayStation Vita, you need to have this game. Next up, we're going to do another two together, and we have Ninja Gaiden Sigma Plus and Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2 Plus, or Sigma Plus 2. I don't know which way you say that, but anyway. Awesome Ninja Gaiden games. I love my ninja games. I love Tenchu. I love stealth games. I love everything about that kind of world. And Ninja Gaiden is a series I haven't really had that much experience with. So when I saw it was available on the PlayStation Vita, I had to get a copy of these. And these are two games as well that seem to be like they were starting to creep up in price. So I got them sooner than later. Still not played them yet, but from what I've heard, they are fantastic versions of the Sigma games. And so glad to have them in the collection. And again, new experiences to look forward to enjoy, because for me, although the PlayStation Vita might be near the end of its life, it's got so much life ahead of it because of this library that I've got of games that I've yet to experience. Next up, and we have Chaos Child. And Chaos Child, I actually first watched the anime and fell in love with it. And then I found out it was actually a visual novel game. I think at the time it was on PC only. And so when this came out for the PS Vita, I had to get it, because This is just such a unique and amazing and interesting story. I haven't played it yet through, but like I say, the anime was based on this story, and it was just one I had to have in my collection because it's a crazy story. If you've not played this or you've not seen it, I thoroughly recommend you checking it out because it is so unique, it's so cool. Next up, we have another visual novel, and that is Steins Gate Zero. Now, originally I always wanted to watch the anime, but I never got around to doing it. So when I found out the video games existed on the PS Vita, I just had to get them in the collection. It was a no-brainer. Next up, we have a very interesting and unique game, Sorcery Saga, Curse of the Great Curry God. Now, I heard about this through a Kelsey Lewin recommendation, and I picked it up because it sounded really unique and interesting, but when I first started playing it, I couldn't get that into it. It's like a dungeon crawler roguelike, and I did consider selling this on, but I'm keeping on to it. I'm keeping hold on to it for a reason, because it does still sound unique and interesting to me. I love animes to do with food, the world of cooking. I love food and I love the world of cooking as well. And that really intrigues me about this, and I really want to give this another go. I feel like for some reason I didn't give it a fair enough shot, and I will get back round to playing this because on the back it looks amazing, it sounds amazing, and I feel like there's something I missed. So I'm going to give this another shot, and we're going to hopefully enjoy it the next time. Moving on, and this is one of my favourite and most played games on the PlayStation Vita, and that's Everybody's Golf. Now, I love golf games. I love the Tiger Woods series of golf games, but the Everybody's Golf series is a bit more relaxing, a bit more fun. And this is a game I've been playing over the past 2 or 3 years, and I keep on going back, doing a few more rounds, progressing a bit further, and enjoying it every single time I jump into this world. The graphics are wonderful, the gameplay is wonderful, and it's the perfect game to just sit back, relax, especially while you're on holiday, maybe with a beer, some nice food, and just playing this slowly in your own time, not having to rush through it, and just relax and enjoy a wonderful video game world. Now finally, before we move on to the limited editions, we have a game that I've wanted to get in the collection for so long and still actually don't have in the collection, and that is Arno Surge. But what is this right here? This is Arno Surge Plus, the Japanese version. Now the thing about this, it's all in Japanese, so I don't know Japanese, I haven't learned it yet. If I started playing this, I wouldn't have a clue what was going on. I picked this game up because it was like about £10, whereas to buy the English language version of this is like nearly £300, if you can even find a copy of it now. I haven't seen a copy listed on eBay for well over a year to 2 years, but I just really wanted to have a physical version of this in the collection, even if it was only the Japanese version. When I got this, I did fully intend to learn Japanese and then play through this game, and I did start that. But it's tricky, it's damn difficult. And if you know me, I run a YouTube channel, I'm a game developer, I've got a family, and trying to learn Japanese in and amongst all of that meant other things were slipping, and I had to just decide to put that on hold while I continued to focus on game development and content creation. So this remains sealed because I've not played it yet, and what I am going to do is I'm going to pick up a digital version of this game, because this is another game that I heard about through the Games of War YouTube channel, and again, the way Josh described that, it just sounded so amazing. I really wanted to experience this video game world. But the only thing about this as well is that the digital version is pretty expensive as well. And when I say expensive, it's like 30-40 quid, but it's still a lot more money than I want to pay for a digital version. But either way, I think I'm going to have to bite the bullet. I don't think I'm going to find an English language physical version anytime soon. So we have Arno Surge Plus, but it's a game I might never open. This might be the only game I never open, unless I finally eventually do learn Japanese, and then I will rip this open straight away and I will dive straight into it. Now it's time for the limited editions, and the first one we have is BlazBlue Chronoplasm Extend. This was a really cheap limited edition to get at the time, and when I first started PlayStation Vita collecting, I wanted to have some nice limited edition pieces in the collection, and this one really screamed out to me. I love the box art, I like the extras that you got with it, the art book, and it looked like an awesome fighting game. So fantastic one to have as part of the limited edition collection. Carrying on with that theme, in trying to get limited edition games in the collection and not break the bank, I came across a really cheap version of Steins Gate limited edition. This was only about, I think, £15 when I got it, and it came with the artwork book, the game and everything. Looks wonderful. Like I said earlier about Steins Gate Zero, it's a game I'm really excited about playing because I really want to play through the story. But the interesting thing with this was when I found this listed on eBay, it also came with these little trinkets right here. Now, I didn't think anything of this at the time. I just thought, you know, it was a nice cheap limited edition, and it came with these extra little pieces as well. As I found out more about PlayStation Vita collecting, I found out that this limited edition with these extra trinkets is actually worth quite a bit, and I had no idea. I had no idea for about a good 2 years, to be honest. So when I finally found out, I was over the moon. It was really nice to have that in the collection, to get it so cheap. Now, some people out there might think about selling it on, but definitely not. I got these because I wanted to have these in the collection. I wanted to have that nice limited edition section of the PlayStation Vita collection that I can have nicely presented in one of the cubes over there on like the Chronik Spartan wall. And these pieces are ones I'm so happy to have in there. Another one I managed to get as well is Ys Origin. Now, I did want the Ys Lacrimosa of Dana limited edition, but that's so expensive. And I already had the game anyway. Whereas Ys Origin, I didn't have a copy of this game. So when I found this for a good price, I had to get it. Now, this is the PS Vita version. The only way you could tell was the little sticker that was on the cellophane there, but I've broken the seal on this. But a nice big box version that takes me back to the big box PC games. I used to be a big PC gamer when I was younger, and all the games I used to get were always in big boxes like this. So it was just really nice to get this, and with as much as I'm loving Ys 8, and then I move on to Ys Memories of SOLXCE. Now, I know this is quite a different experience from what I've heard, but I'm still so excited to have this in the collection and to be able to get right to playing it. Now, I've talked about this a few times in the episode, and we have Axiom Verge Multiverse Edition. Now, I knew I had to get a copy of Axiom Verge with everything I'd heard about it, and specifically Gaming Off the Grid talking about how fantastic it was as a game. Not only that, being a game developer, I love the story behind how this game was created. Thomas Happ being a solo developer, a lot of his story really rings true with me, and I was just so intrigued and had to get a copy of this game. Now, at the time I was thinking, do I get it on the PS Vita or the Nintendo Switch? My heart being much more in the world of Sony, I had to get it on the PS Vita, and I'm so glad that I did. I've recently cracked the seal on this and started playing through, and it is absolutely stunning, and it works so amazing in the palm of your hand on the PlayStation Vita. This comes along with an artwork book and with a disc with the making of documentary on there, and that for me is amazing because, like I said, the story behind how this game was created is as important to me as the game and the story in the game itself, and I'm just so happy to have this in the collection. And this was a wonderful birthday present a couple of years ago from the wife. Now, finally, a game that came out of nowhere, and a game that seemed like it was designed for me. Like, it couldn't have been more perfect. It's on the PlayStation Vita, and it's Metal Gear Solid inspired, and that is Unmetal. Now, I have not played this game yet, and everybody's saying, how have you not played it yet? Why have you not played it yet? Like I've said before in this episode, games I know I'm gonna love, I like to dedicate specific time to. It was Axiom Verge's time right now for me to jump into, and pretty soon it's going to be Unmetal's time. But I'm just so happy to have this in the collection because this is inspired by the original Metal Gear games, and it throws in what looks like pure quality humour. Not the kind of humour that's kind of cringeworthy, but the humour that works perfectly. Everything I've heard about this game, everything I've seen about it, just looks like this could be one of my new favourite games of all time. Now, today, the day I'm recording, it actually comes out on Steam and on other consoles as well. As far as I know, this is the only physical version right now. What I think I will be doing is I will be getting the Steam version as well, and I will play through this on the Chronik Spartan live streams, Game Night Live on Thursdays. If you do want to check that out, then make sure you hit the subscribe button so you find out when those live streams are. But back to this, Unmetal, this comes with the original soundtrack, a numbered certificate, and a printed manual. And like I said again, I will be getting B-roll of these. But this, one of the latest additions in the collection, and one I am so happy to have. So that rounds it out. That is the Chronik Spartan PlayStation Vita collection. Now, this has probably turned into a pretty long episode, but it's so nice to have these games in the collection, to be able to have all these brand new experiences in front of me, and to not have to worry about trying to find them now, trying to see if they're available, trying to see if they've gone up in price. I have them now in the collection, and that's what I set out to do. That's what I wanted to do when I started this whole binge. Is this the end of the PS Vita collecting? Absolutely not. There are still loads of games I still want to get, and as you saw with Rayman Origins, I'll be looking for those great deals, and I'll be adding to this collection as time goes on, and I'll be letting you guys know when that happens. But I really wanted to go through this for myself and for you guys to see where we are at now, what those months built up to. they built up to this. Now, if you've enjoyed this episode and you love content like this, then hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on future episodes, because there's going to be a lot more collection videos coming up. Once again, thank you for watching and see you next time.